No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done.
As long as Dragon Ball Super sticks to what it's ultimately set out to do, kind of from early on the beginning of the series, then I have no doubt in my mind that Dragon Ball Super as a series is going to continue for quite some time. Now, it was recently in the last few weeks that we got an interview from the writer, the author of Dragon Ball Super, co-writer, co-author, Toriyama has his involvements and whatnot, but there was an interview with Toyotaro, the basically mangaka, essentially, of Dragon Ball Super, alongside Victory Uchida, which, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Victory Uchida is the editor of Dragon Ball Super, and in that interview, they spoke a lot about various different things regarding the Dragon Ball Super franchise, but one thing in particular definitely led me to believe that Dragon Ball Super, it's gonna go on for quite some time. It's not gonna just come and go based on what the initial goals and in general what the Saiyans goals are always. They always want to be the strongest, right? They always want to surpass what they were and be the best, be the strongest, show that they're the biggest and strongest fighters for that matter. Now that I think about it, that even goes all the way back to Dragon Ball in the very first Tenkaichi Budokai, when Goku was basically trying to be number one and ultimately lost, and he kept on going until he became number one at the very end of original Dragon Ball when he defeated Piccolo Jr. Now, in this interview with Victory Uchida, Toyotaro said something that was very huge, but also rose a lot of questions for myself and a lot of the fandom regarding Goku's strength. Because if the big goal, the big enchilada of it all, right, is that Goku and Vegeta want to be the strongest, and ultimately for that to even happen, they would basically have to be neck and neck with each other, right? They would have to be the strongest in the universe in order to take that crown and basically end what Dragon Ball Super has been about. Because for the longest time, initially, it was just like Goku and Vegeta want to surpass Beerus. Like, Dragon Ball Super kind of set that up, like, hey, we want to surpass Beerus, that's the end goal. Along the way, you started noticing and they started revealing more people that are even stronger than Beerus. I mean, alone by the end of Battle of Gods, we find out that Whis is his teacher, and pretty much Whis is probably stronger than Beerus. And then as the series kept going, you got the Grand Priest, and then in this interview, they mentioned that the people that Goku still has to train up essentially to surpass are Beerus, Whis, the Grand Priest, and Broly. Now, the Broly one was interesting, and I want to say people said that it was actually Victory Uchida that chimed in and said Broly, which Victory Uchida, again, if he's the editor of Dragon Ball Super, I think he would know that, yeah, Broly is in another class. Now, a lot of people would throw the argument back and forth, well, damn, so that means in between the Broly film, which takes place prior to the Moro arc, and where we're at right now, the Granola the Survival arc, with all the power-ups, with all the training and everything that Goku and Vegeta has undergone, they still haven't been able to surpass Broly? Like, damn. But hey, you got to take the author's word for it, and at the end of the day, it would kind of make sense if you think about it, right? Because let's go to the Broly film for that matter. At the end of the Broly film, ultimately, first of all, they weren't able to defeat Broly. Broly, basically, they had to just like piece it up with man, say, yo, it's all good, we cool, everything's gravy. They had to sit down, everything had to be hunky-dory because Broly was just too much. And ultimately, Goku and Vegeta had to use fusion. They were fused Super Saiyan Blue, Gogeta, and still couldn't take down Broly. So yeah, a couple of arcs of training, fighting Moro, which Moro was more so like technique-based and magic-based, essentially, and that, I mean, gave them definitely a buff of like training and whatnot, but ultimately wasn't something that's gonna put them into another stratosphere. And then right now they're facing Granola, and Vegeta was the one, in my opinion, that had more of a power up than Goku. Goku just has a more better understanding of Ultra Instinct, but Goku really didn't have a giant buff either. So in between these arcs, yeah, you could throw the argument that what have they done that is so significant? I mean, they're fighting strong opponents. Do not mistake what I'm saying and trying to downplay these two by any means, but ultimately, would what they've gone through in the last two arcs be enough to surpass what they would have been fused as Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta? I don't think so. I think you look at what Gogeta ultimately is, and Gogeta is a fusion that multiplies times, what is it, 100 or 1,000, some crazy shit. Yeah, you're not going to be able to surpass that with two arcs, and especially Granola the Survivor isn't even over yet. And there's also the fact that it feels to a certain degree that Ultra Instinct has been somewhat rewritten, somewhat Deus Ex Machina, essentially, where initially it felt like even towards the end of Dragon Ball Super, there was little hints that maybe, possibly, potentially, Goku could, have surpassed or reached the level of of Beerus. Like, that was a thing that a lot of fans remember from the series, where it was kind of stated like, yo, could he have surpassed and whatnot? But ultimately, again, that was kind of Deus Ex Machina. That was kind of rewritten, that, yeah, Goku still has ultimately a long way, because essentially, if the end goal of Dragon Ball Super, which I want to say Toriyama said early on, like, when Goku will surpass Beerus and Whis, it was basically like, yo, it'll be like the end of the series type of deal. So if he still has to surpass all these people, which I want to say in order of power, I'd say the weakest being Broly, then I'd say above Broly would be Beerus, then Whis, then the Grand Priest. Like, that's how I look at it. Maybe I'm off on that, but I'd say the Grand Priest is the strongest of all of them, then Whis, then Beerus, then Broly at the very end. We got a long way to go, and that's going to ultimately lead for a long-term series that's going to continue to go for a while, because again, if we haven't even surpassed the bottom tier, like, think of them as the big four to surpass, and we haven't even surpassed Broly yet, how are we even going to find out how strong Goku is in comparison to them? Well, for starters, you got to bring them into the story as fighters, not just as spectators. Like Broly, we need him in the next, whether it be the film or whatever the case may be, we need to see if he's not going to challenge Goku, because I do think at this point, that usually how Dragon Ball does, we're not going to see a rematch between Goku and Broly. So the only way to test how strong Broly will be, and if we surpass him, is have Broly fight one of the latest threats of either, again, the manga or the upcoming film, and see where Goku fares in terms of, okay, if Broly loses to this guy and Goku is able to beat him, then that means that Goku has surpassed Broly, as long as it's not like something crazy or some reason why Broly lost that is other than his own strength and his weakness against this guy. Ultimately, that would showcase. But then also the big ones is that we really haven't seen in serious combat Beerus, Whis, and the Grand Priest have a major challenge. I think one of the ways to make that happen is, I mean, who's really going to be able to challenge a God of Destruction that's out there that has been showcased, like, oh, they could really kick his ass, other than probably some other Gods of Destruction that maybe go rogue. And that's kind of been a concept that ever since the Tournament of Power ended in the anime, and you know, in the manga as well, they've kind of strayed away from the other universes and things like that, which is open for grandiose possibilities. And I'm hoping that we get back to that, because that's the only way we're going to start inching towards a finale of showcasing where Goku and Vegeta are, and surpassing, for that matter, the angels and the Gods of Destruction and the Grand Priests in general. We need to see them have a formidable foe that basically kicks their ass or bests them to a certain degree, that Goku is able to overcome. That's how we'll find out, okay, he surpassed them, because as it stands right now, they're talking as if like Goku still has a long road ahead of him, even though we've been through some shit. We went through Battle of Gods, Resurrection F, the, you know, Universe 7 tournament between the two of them, the Goku Black arc, the Tournament of Power, Moro, the Granola the Survivor arc. Right now, we've been through a lot, and still there's tons of room to grow, and the initial goal to begin with of surpassing a God of Destruction, Beerus, is still ways away, seemingly, based on everything we've seen thus far. But I'm very curious what you guys think. How far you think away from surpassing any of those four is Goku? Do you think Goku is even in the stratosphere of surpassing Broly? Like, again, you would have thought, because at the end of the day, hey, we didn't die, and ultimately the Dragon Ball Super Broly film was wrapped up, that maybe Goku surpassed. Like, a lot of people were under the assumption, like, by now, surely Goku would have surpassed Broly. But again, if the editor and the author of the series are saying, no, he still needs to surpass him, then that means that Broly is out there. How far away from that is Goku of surpassing Broly? And then likewise, the other ones, aside from having a foe that is able to kick their ass, what other ways you think could be showcased to show that Goku has surpassed them at some given point? I'd still say, even where it stands right now, Goku hasn't surpassed any of them, and we need to see some huge boundary breaking transformations in order to get there, assuming that they don't just say, hey, Dragon Ball Super's over, yeah, the whole goal of surpassing these gods and shit like that will never be explored, because yeah, they kind of, like, since Tournament of Power, shied away from the grandiose nature of the setups of that arc. Like, there's so much out there, and the last couple arcs of the manga has been relegated to sticking to threats that are terrorizing Universe 7. Like, I would like to go beyond that and go back to what was started there, because that was huge, the possibilities were endless, and I feel like that's the only true way we're going to get an understanding of how far Goku is away from surpassing these people, or even getting Goku to the point of surpassing, again, the gods and the Gods of Destructions and angels and Broly. And not to mention, in between all of this, I definitely think there's going to be more power-ups, and there absolutely needs to be more power-ups, because even a mastered version of Ultra Instinct, the way it's been displayed and everything, it still doesn't even feel like that, like being completely like the best possible form of Ultra Instinct for Goku will be enough to surpass gods and angels that have been doing this for so damn long, that that they naturally can just sit around in Ultra Instinct. I think new forms, possibly even named differently, maybe there'll be spin-offs essentially of Ultra Instinct or higher levels of Ultra Instinct, but definitely new forms of it, or maybe even Saiyans beyond perfect, something along the lines of that, Holy Saiyan forms. Like, something else needs to be added to the plate, because again, Ultra Instinct, as impressive as it is that you could move your body, and then Vegeta's Ultra Ego technique, which, you know, yeah, I think new forms need to happen, especially though for Goku, if he's going to ever hope to surpass any of these people, whether it be spin-offs of Ultra Instinct or something like that, or something, you know, unique to the Saiyan's heritage. New things need to be added, because again, Ultra Instinct doesn't seem to be enough, in my opinion, to one day surpass somebody like the Grand Priest. Or who knows, maybe the lesson in all of this is that there's always going to be somebody better than you. That's something that I would love to see explored more, even in Dragon Ball. Something that basically tells people that just because you train and all that stuff, there's always somebody out there. And that's, I think, been a core lesson to a certain degree anyway in Dragon Ball. One of the reasons, going all the way back to the very beginning of the series, that Master Roshi entered the Tenkaichi Budokai was to showcase to Goku, keep on training. There's always somebody strong out there. There's always somebody that's going to best you. If he would have won that first tournament, Goku would have stopped training and never gotten to this point, and the Earth would have been doomed. So maybe ultimately, for the best of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Super, would be that Goku doesn't surpass some of these people, because then the journey would stop. Goku wouldn't be excited anymore, because who else is there out there to fight? That's his whole purpose, and his whole goal is that he wants to be the best. And if he becomes the best, he's gonna not care no more. So maybe that could be a core-centric element to it as well. And your overall thoughts and expectations for the Dragon Ball Super series and beyond. Yeah, I want to see the both of them, because I know I've mainly spoke about Goku, but let's be real here. We know how Vegeta gets done, so Goku, wherever he gets, Vegeta will always be, unfortunately, number 2. That's a sad reality that we must face. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links are in the description below. I'm from the world, and as always, people, have an awesome day, and remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life, boy. Have an awesome day, peace in, and however long it takes, I eventually want to see Goku at some given point surpass all of these people, or at the very least get up to the top of it, the Grand Priest. Have an awesome one.